Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new documentary, The Business of Birth Control, or Sweetening the Pill. And this is from director Abby Epstein, who previously did Weed the People. And this film focuses on taking a deep dive into the effects of birth control and the greater perspective on, is this really something that is helping women, or something that is being pushed upon women from a male perspective and causing a lot more issues. And this documentary obviously has a very specific stance that it's going after and taking a look at that birth control is not exactly what it seems. This isn't this helpful helpful tool to try to help women avoid unwanted pregnancies and stuff like that, because a lot of these birth control pills turn out to have really horrible effects on people. Specifically the women that are taking these pills. And I remember the whole Yaz situation in the documentary speaks about that, but I remember when that was happening. And that was such a big deal, and all the horrible effects that it had on the women that were taking these pills. And this film does a really great job of being extremely informative and breaking down a lot of history of where these pills came from and how they came about and became such a big fixture in our society, and also their effects and the other options that women have in terms of how they can manage avoiding unwanted pregnancies. And it's interesting because towards the end of the film it really shifts gears into these alternatives and looking at these apps that follow, you can follow your ovulation and all that kind of stuff a lot closer and more structurally, and it gives you an idea of when you might need to wear a condom versus you might not need to wear a condom if you're going to have intercourse, and all these different kinds of things where it becomes managing this a lot more simple and doable instead of potentially putting your life at risk. And there's some very emotional stories in this documentary as well, from parents who lost their daughters to horrible effects from these birth control pills, and thinking about how really society and big pharma doesn't give this perspective that you have other options, but and it's very interesting watching this documentary because it also takes shots at the FDA and how drugs come about and dealing with big pharma. And it's a very interesting time to be putting that perspective, especially with everything with vaccines and stuff like that. So you could see the broader picture that this documentary is taking on and what this more societal outlook on drugs in general is, but also obviously the main focus of this documentary is focusing on birth control. And what this documentary is trying to say, what Abby Epstein is trying to portray here, and really focusing on moving women away from using birth control pills and getting towards more safe and more reliable and more accessible ways of birth control versus these pills that have potentially very deadly reactions to them for people that take them. So I feel like this documentary is well structured. It is very informative and well put together. It also has those emotional beats that really hit you when it takes into account some of these actual stories. And it also leaves room open for it's hard to look at an argument where it's just no, this thing's bad, but then you don't give any room for discourse or where to go from there. I appreciate this documentary giving a perspective on these are other options and safer options. And this documentary was very thorough and put together. And I know I learned a lot, especially coming from a perspective of someone that, as a man, I don't deal with birth control pills or anything like that. And I learned a lot from this, and I gained a lot more perspective and understanding to the struggles that women go through when it comes to these kinds of choices. So in the end, I feel like The Business of Birth Control, or Sweetening the Pill, that's how it's labeled on IMDb, but not how it was labeled when it was passed along to me. So this specifically, The Business of Birth Control, I think is a really informative and important documentary that's definitely worth checking out. But those are my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.